I want to share with you guys today a clip from a new YouTuber I discovered named Warren Smith. And this clip pretty much perfectly encapsulates one of the main reasons why I started moving towards the center politically this year.
You can only lose if you're playing to win. If your pursuit is truth, there's no such thing as losing, there's only growth.
I'm going to play that again for you guys because that was short to make sure you guys got that.
You can only lose if you're playing to win. If your pursuit is truth, there's no such thing as losing, there's only growth.
This clip was taken from a video from Warren Smith's YouTube channel. And in this video, he was reviewing and commentating on a political debate between conservative Tim Pool and leftist Luke Beasley. So to explain why this quote means so much to me and how it even explains why I moved to the center this year politically, what he said is that you can only really lose when your aim is to win. But if your pursuit is truth, there's no such thing as losing. There's only growth. One thing that I noticed between the divisiveness of the political parties over the past few years, and I don't know if this is a product of social media or if this is a phenomenon that always existed and it just got amplified and became more obvious by social media. But personally, I noticed that the divisiveness in politics sort of created in human beings almost these two very predictable archetypes of human beings, where you can almost look at a person and predict what their beliefs are politically. And for me personally, I don't think it is statistically possible for there only to be two different types of human beings that I can perfectly predict. If I see a person with purple hair covered in tattoos, I know that they are anti-Trump. I know they are pro-trans rights. I know that they are pro-abortion. I know that they believe in global warming, etc. Versus I look at a person with a red MAGA hat and a pickup truck, and I know that they are anti-abortion. I know that they are pro-deportation in order to protect the borders, etc. I don't think statistically that there are only these two types of human beings that exist. I think that amongst the human population, there's probably a lot more diversity in thought and opinion. And what I've noticed over the years is that there's something very tribal about this. And it seems like both political parties, so many people have taken on these ideas in such a tribal way that people aren't willing to sit down face to face and talk about these ideas without so much ego and so much tension anymore. And I think that's why this quote that I showed in the beginning of this video perfectly articulates exactly that sentiment. If people were to come together in the pursuit of truth, there would be no such thing as losing a political argument, because we are here to debate these ideas in order to find truth, or the closest thing to the truth, or the best possible solution to complex problems. If I can give a more concrete example of a criticism I have of either side of the political spectrum, I'm going to start with a critique of the conservative end first. So I've noticed during this past election that we've had between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris, there was a lot of political tension between the left and the right regarding the issue of abortion. One of the main talking points that the conservatives would make is that there's no reason to be angry about this issue. We don't want to take away women's rights. We just want to leave it up to the state. And they would kind of make that statement as if they were walking away with clean hands from the situation. But to me, all that really does is confirm that Donald Trump himself is not personally anti-abortion, that Donald Trump wants to leave this up to the states. Now, while that could make me feel less hostile towards Donald Trump as an individual, that still doesn't take away the fact that leaving it up to the states still puts a lot of women in danger individually in those states. For a conservative to make that statement and think that they have clean hands in the argument, I don't think that person is genuinely being honest with themselves. I don't think it takes a very brilliant human being to understand why leaving it up to the states would still put a lot of women in a very dangerous situation, despite the fact that I will agree with those people that, yes, saying up to the states doesn't put the responsibility completely on Donald Trump, as in he personally is anti-abortion. I don't think Donald Trump is anti-abortion, but I still in my heart don't believe that every conservative person who makes that argument doesn't see the other side of the story and doesn't understand the logic of the other side of the story as well. Now, to turn it on the left side, if I can bring up a concrete example where I can make this criticism on the left as well, one of the big ones that would come up for me would be trans athletes competing in women's sports. I know a lot of liberals that will blindly accept that somebody born as a biological man should be able to compete in women's sports. Now, again, this is another thing where my gut instinct would tell me that not every person who says that actually believes what they are saying. I would say that a large number of these people are most likely buying into this opinion to stay devoted to their political team. But just like I made this criticism for conservatives, I'll make the same criticism on the left here. I don't think it takes a very brilliant person to logically understand why, if you were to put yourself in those shoes, let's say you were a parent of a female child and your child had an incredible talent for combat sports as a young age. Let's say boxing. Let's say they were underage and a female was competing in a combat sport such as boxing. And as a parent, you invested a lot of time, energy, and money into training them and paying for classes and taking them on tournaments. Now, all of a sudden, somebody who is born a biological male who transitioned to a woman is now allowed to compete with her. I don't think it takes a really brilliant person to understand why that could potentially be an unfair situation. So to pull back a little bit from my original point, I see a lot of this on both the left and the right now, and I think anybody who blindly accepts an opinion on their political party without logically questioning it like that is part of an ideology, which in my opinion is a pretty dangerous place for our society to be in at the moment. So to pull back to what my original point was, again, I think that was so beautifully articulated by Warren Smith that if we were just to come together and discuss these ideas with the intention of getting closer to the truth, we would get so much farther as a society. So unfortunately, I don't think anyone can just change that right now. It seems like that is something very prevalent in our society. But I think personally, I would like to take the responsibility of making sure that when I'm arguing politically with people, to check myself. Am I arguing a political point with my ego, with the intention of being right? Or am I arguing a political point with the intention of being closer to the truth?